Hello everybody, and welcome back to a new soft-spoken video. Hope you're all doing really well today. Around 2 weeks ago I posted on the community tab that is now called just posts, and I asked you what videos you wanted to see more of from me, and with 32% of votes so far, we've got books/movies chats. So if you like my film related content, I have a playlist called Film Talks. So it's where I put all my letterboxd recaps. I have a video about my favorite horror films and my letterboxd top 4. I think that's all the types of videos that you can find on there. I don't have a book dedicated playlist, but with this video I might start it as well. So have a look after watching this video. I might have created a book talk playlist. But yeah, today I'm here to talk about the 3 latest books that I've read between December and January. I'm a slow reader. I think I have to accept that about myself now. I'm not even slow. If I like a book, I'll read it in like a few days, and then I'll just need like a few extra days to like think about it and, I don't know, recuperate. And this is the latest book that I'm reading, and I'm halfway through. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into the first book here at the top. So the very first book I would like to talk about is Such a Fun Age by Reid. This is actually her debut novel, and my latest video about books was a book haul, and so actually you'll see a couple of, well, 3 out of the 4 books you'll see they are a repetition, but of course now I've read them, so I have opinions on them. But basically this book follows Amira. Well, you get a back and forth POV between Amira and Alex. Amira is a 25-year-old black woman, and she babysits for Alex, which is just slightly older than her, and Alex's family is white. They're a well-off white family, whereas Amira is she's 25 years old, but she's still finding herself and her role in the world, I guess, specifically work-wise, but also just, her wider sense of self, I guess. And so yeah, Amira babysits for the Chamberlains, so Alex and her husband, and she babysits Briar, which is portrayed as such a wonderfully curious and quirky little girl. She's 2 years old, and yeah, I guess the catalyst for the action right at the beginning of the book is that Amira gets a late night phone call from Alex asking her to babysit Briar in a type of last minute emergency situation. Amira is at a party though, so she's not I guess dressed appropriately for the job. She has had a couple drinks, and she tells Alex all these things, but nonetheless Alex needs Amira right away, and so Amira goes and babysits Briar, and one of Briar's favorite things is to go and peruse grocery stores. So that's what they do. They go in a sort of Whole Foods type shop, like a posh grocery store, And yeah, they get stopped by a Karen, essentially, that, you know, kind of doesn't straight up accuse Amira of kidnapping Briar, but it's kind of like, why is this young black woman dressed in a very skimpy dress walking around with a white toddler at night? It's like something not right is going on. Of course, Amira is just doing her job. And yeah, then the situation escalates with like the shopping, the grocery shop guard, and there's also a bystander that films the whole thing, and he will come into play later. And yeah, then the situation resolves itself with Amira calling Mr. Chamberlain, and so the male white savior comes and, you know, saves the day, kind of thing. And so what the book does, it really details specifically Amira and Alex's relationship, exploring topics of white feminism, race and gender intersection, performative allyship, of course racism in its more subtle and in its more subtle expressions, I suppose. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought some parts were dragging a little bit. The book itself is so funny at times, so it's really amazing how Kiley Reid managed to pack so many, you know, essential conversations in today's world. I'm sure also specifically important conversations for Americans, for people from the States. But yeah, she just weaved all these topics in a very easy to read book and very funny at times. I really liked Amira's character. I was a nanny for 2 years and an au pair for a year, so I've had my fair share of experiences when it comes to child minding and, you know, taking care of small children. And a lot of the times it's like there's so much going around Amira that when she finally gets to spend time with Briar, it's like the sweetest, most like pure moments of the day for her, and those moments were just so beautiful to read about. It's also that bittersweet feeling that all nannies have, but again, in this situation you also have the added layer of race imbalance. There's that feeling of, once this kid grows up, they will probably forget about me, or I will be just a number in the line of nannies or childminders that they've had. And then, of course, in Amira and Briar's situation, there's the added layer of Briar is white, is growing up very privileged. Who knows what type of woman she will become, but also like, I guess the biggest element of the book is that racism is not a person issue, but a system issue. So even the most well-willing person, or the people with the best intentions, they still fall within a specific system. And so yeah, who knows if Briar will be a perpetrator of these microaggressions, and if she will remember Amira at all and the wonderful moments that they've shared. Yeah, there's so much more to this book. I'll not spoil anything, because there is, I guess, a minor spoiler and something else that will happen down the line. But yeah, this was a 3, maybe a 3.5. Goodreads doesn't let you do half stars. Why? But yeah, if you're wondering about my rating system, a 5 is amazing. I couldn't put it down. A 4 is really, really good. Really loved it. 3 is like good, but maybe I struggled to read it, or it wasn't as smooth. This took me longer than it should have. And then I don't tend to give 2 and 1 stars, because if I deem a book to be at that rating, I usually stop reading it. Usually. There's a couple of exceptions, but that's usually what happens. Le Otto Montagne. This is an easy 5. The 8 Mountains by Paolo Cognetti. You might know or recognize this title from the movie that came out, I want to say, in 2023. It's by a Belgian director, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, my foot is getting numb. I'm getting pins and needles. But yeah, Le Otto Montagne is just a dream. I adore authors that use language in a very dry way and sort of they don't spell out everything for you. A scene ends and you're kind of like putting the pieces together, and you can only imagine what has happened, or you know how things played out, but they don't really tell you straight up, and I love this. This book follows the friendship of Pietro and Bruno. Pietro is a city boy with parents that have a big love and appreciation and connection with the mountains. And Bruno is a mountain boy. He has just grown up in the Alps, and that's all he knows, and that's all he will ever know. So yeah, their friendship is, we follow them from childhood all the way to adulthood. And yeah, so I guess this book focuses on male relationships, and how hard it is for men to express their feelings at all, or form even an opinion on their own feelings. And yeah, so I guess Pietro and Bruno are the focus on that, but actually a big character that lives on even after his death, spoiler, but it's Pietro's father. Pietro grew up with this, as many of us do, emotionally unavailable father, and their only way to connect was through their excursions and hikes in the mountains. Without getting too much into it, but the father and the mother have a very specific connection to the mountains. There's some tragic backstory that connects them even more to the mountains, and that specific area in the Alps. If I'm not mistaken, they're the Alps connecting Italy and France. And yeah, so even once Pietro's father dies, his presence and all the things that Pietro and his father haven't told to each other, they're so like heavy, and they weigh down everything that Pietro does, and in turn everything that Pietro says and does with Bruno, which Bruno himself has a very specific situation at home with his parents, his uncle as well. We never get his full POV. We just hear of Bruno from Pietro, but again, you can kind of piece together and imagine what type of upbringing Bruno had. And yeah, this is just a wonderful friendship, so pure, so pure is the best word to describe it. And all of this in the breathtaking but also harsh background of the mountains. And Bruno is so knowledgeable. He's so there's a part in the book, kind of like, I guess in their early 20s, mid 20s, where Pietro brings some friends from some city friends over to the mountains to meet Bruno, and a friend makes a comment, like such a city guy comment of like, oh, nature is so beautiful, you know, something along the lines of, yeah, I love nature, I love being in nature. And Bruno says something like, it's only you guys from the city that call this nature. You know, we call it what it is. It's a pasture, is the trail, it's the river, it's the woods. Like, the mountains have their own ecosystem and their own ways and their own rhythms, and you know, it's a lifestyle, and only if you've grown up there or you've spent a lot of time there and you have a full appreciation for it, you can understand it. The mountains are a protagonist in themselves and such a imposing presence. Yeah, I could go on and on and on about it. I also have a bit of a personal backstory, I guess. I've never been much of a mountaineering myself, but as a child, my grandparents used to own a flat in a small town in Val d'Aosta, which is an Italian region that, yeah, borders with France. And yeah, so I have a lot of fond memories in the mountains, in the summer specifically, which is where most of the book is set, you know, summer in the mountains. And I could just really smell the grass and feel the sun and breathe the fresh air and taste the fresh water coming down from the fountains and that were coming down from the glacier. And yeah, this was an easy 5. I read it in a few days. Absolutely wonderful. The last book I finished recently was Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. This is only my second novel by Ottessa Moshfegh, but I just love the way she writes dirty women and like unlikable women that have a lot of hate for the world and the people around them, and you can kind of relate to that, but then at the same time they don't help themselves at all in any sense of the word. Eileen is a 24-year-old woman living in a small town in New England in the 60s, and she works as a secretary for a boys, I want to say prison, but maybe it's a jail. No, I think it's a prison. And so yeah, she also lives alone with her alcoholic father. She carries a lot of her own trauma from her childhood. Her mother was clearly mentally unstable, but also just like mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. Father is a whole thing of itself. She has a lot of layered issues, you know, trigger warning for, of course, depression, self-harm, eating disorders, definitely. Just, she's not doing well at all, at all, at all, at all. And the story is narrated from her perspective, but she's an older woman now. So we're kind of hearing the voice of 70-year-old Eileen, and that makes it quite a unreliable narrator. She says herself that some things, you know, she can't really remember certain things or how certain things played out, so we kind of have to just accept the way old Eileen narrates her own story. But yeah, so most of the book is just a character study. I feel like the book was kind of sold to me as a psychological thriller. The only thing that happens only happens in the last few pages. I don't mind it. I absolutely love a character study, but that's really what it is. Basically, Eileen's life changes when Veronica, the new psychologist for the prison, comes to work at the prison, and she falls deep for her. She said at one point, I think straight up, I'm not a lesbian, but she has this deep infatuation for Veronica. I guess Veronica represents everything that Eileen is not. Eileen has this incredibly deep self-loathing, and she goes into details about how she despises herself physically, mentally, mainly physically. And Veronica is described as a classy, elegant lady with, I don't know, long fingernails and a perfect red lipstick, and, I don't know, a certain way of walking. And yeah, so Eileen has this deep attraction, which makes you wonder, does she wants to be with her, does she wants to be her? And yeah, Veronica gets involved into something, and that something will be the action of the very last few pages. And of course, Eileen gets, involved into this. I thought the ending was a bit rushed. That's the only reason why I gave it 4 out of 5. It would be a 5 if it wasn't for the ending. The ending was a bit rushed. And the thing is that the whole book is a character study, but also Eileen keeps telling us that there's clearly a before and an after in her life. There's clearly something that will be the catalyst for her to run away from this, old town of drunks, and for her to finally start living her life for herself. And so you keep thinking, what will happen? Will somebody die? What will happen? Will she just run away? And yeah, the thing is kind of played out quite a bit too fast, in my opinion. So I don't know, I definitely recommend this if you love, again, a book about angry, unhappy, very depressed women that kind of have a lot of self-loathing and loathing for the world in general. Yeah, I thought it was great. Also just funny at times. It just, the things she says and the way she describes certain things is just so over the top at times that you can't help yourself but like kind of giggle at it. Yeah, so Eileen was 4 out of 5 stars. And then I've been reading Breakdown. I am more than halfway through. I don't know why I'm having a hard time just sitting down and reading it, because it is so easy to read. Like, it's so easy to read. The author is Cathy Sweeney. I found this book at a charity shop, and I thought it was going to be right up my alley, and it is. I just don't know why I can't just finish the damn book. But this book is told from the perspective of an unnamed mother and wife. She lives in the suburbs in Dublin. She's clearly quite well off, but then one day, simply instead of leaving the house and going to work, she leaves the house for good. She essentially runs away. She doesn't make a big deal out of it. She just goes and kind of stops replying to phone calls and messages. And yeah, I love a book that is told over a few days. I think now we're only on day 2. So far she has taken the car all the way to the train station. Then she took the train all the way to the ferry, because she's going to Wales, from Dublin to Wales. And so now we are on the ferry. And so the book is sort of like her. So she essentially observes and describes who is surrounding her and the places surrounding her, and that always gives her kind of like a thought of, or things around her remind her of her past and her life in the suburbs. And so she will go into details about her daughter, her son, her own relationship with her husband, her relationship with her career. She's a teacher, I think secondary teacher, but she has a background in arts, and so yeah, she will touch on different things. I just don't feel like anything is too explored. She's very unlikable because I don't know. It's like as women we can all relate to that feeling of wanting to just drop everything and all the expectations you have put on you, but also there is a nuance to it, and it kind of seems like she could have figured out a different way. But also, if somebody just runs away, they're not really well, are they? So yeah, very easy to read, not too long at all. It's under 300 pages. Looks bigger, but it's big font. It's actually one of those not for sale copies, like an uncorrected proofread copy, which is funny because I found some typos. But yeah, so this is what I'm reading right now. I think it's on its way to get a 3 or 3.5. Again, Bookreads doesn't let you give half stars. Maybe it's a 4 if it really, picks up again in the last half. I might give it a 4. I don't know. I'll think about it. But yeah, so these are the books I've been reading recently. If you get, one suggestion out of all these books, please go and read The Eight Mountains. So contemplative, so wonderful, so beautiful. I forgot to mention that it really reminds me of My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. It, in my opinion, is essentially My Brilliant Friend, but gender swapped. Just a lot of unsaid things, and yeah, just complicated feelings of friendship. But this was especially beautiful. I tend to not read male authors, but because this is an exploration on male feelings and how hard it is for men to tell each other that they just love them, love each other. I found it really special and beautiful. This is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.